My name is Quinn, and I'm a student at the Indigenous Community Legal Clinic, located in downtown Vancouver. This video series has been recorded on the stolen, unceded, and ancestral territory of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Stolo nations. This video is part of the Live Law Project series on police interactions, and today I'm going to cover what your rights are if the police stop you on the street. In general, every person legally has the right to move freely through the world without police interference. This is supposed to be protected by 3 sections of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Section 7 protects the right to life, liberty, and security. Section 8 protects the right against unreasonable search and seizure of property. Section 9 speaks to the right to not be arbitrarily detained or imprisoned. What this means for you as an individual is that, generally speaking, the police should not be able to stop you, force you to answer questions, or search through your things. Now, you have these rights regardless of your criminal history or if you're on parole. According to the law, the only time they can violate these rights is if you're being detained or arrested, or if they have a warrant to search or arrest you. Now, that's what the law says the police can't do, but I think we all know that it's a pile of shit. The lived reality is that if you're unhoused, if you do sex work, if you use drugs, if you're Black, if you're Indigenous, if you're neuroatypical, if you have mental illness, if you're trans or non-binary, if you're undocumented, or if you have been formerly incarcerated, not only do the police tend to deviate from what they're allowed to do in traumatic and violent ways, they also tend to get away with it. With that in mind, I'd like to preface the rest of the video by saying a few things. 1, often, even if you do everything 100% by the books, if you're not wealthy, white, cis, sober, etc., the police may still harass and or assault you. And this isn't your fault. It's the fault of hundreds of years of intentional bias in systems meant to warehouse and eliminate people that wealthy white society doesn't want to deal with. 2, we're providing this information from a privileged position. And while we have canvassed both lawyers and peer support organizations on the downtown east side, we can't speak to lived reality or be a substitute for lived experience with police. 3rd, we understand that being able to refer to the law as a means of telling police what they can and can't do doesn't always work, especially with the inherent power imbalance that exists between marginalized communities and the police state. We definitely understand that there are situations where referring to the law or trying to assert your rights using the law might put you in physical danger in a police interaction. In canvassing people on the board of Vancouver Area Network of Drug Users, or VANDU, we were told that it can help to show that you have a printed off version of a Know Your Rights card made by Pivot Legal Services, as it may indicate that you not only know your rights, but you also know of legal resources that might help you pursue repercussions if they're violated. You can find the link to a printable copy of this card on our website, www.livedlawproject.wixsite.com, under the webpage for this policing series. Returning to the content of the video, we're first going to talk about distinctions between police interactions that can sometimes be hard to tell apart. Arrest, detention, and street checks are 3 different things with important distinctions. Arrests can only occur where the police have what is called reasonable and probable grounds to believe that you have already committed a crime or that you are about to commit a criminal offense. This means that they must see a reasonably logical connection between you and the crime that they think is committed or is about to be committed by you. Detention, or being detained by the police, can occur where the police don't have enough evidence to arrest you, but they do have reasonable grounds to believe that you're connected to a crime that they're investigating. If the police are just asking you more general questions, you may not be officially detained. Street checks are where the police stop and question you, and in some circumstances record your personal information into a database. When the police approach you, there's a presumption that you do not have to stop, answer questions, let them touch you, or allow them to search your things. Generally, you have a right to choose whether or not to speak to the police. There is no legal requirement that you speak with police, and you don't need to provide any personal information. Now, there are some exceptions to this presumption. Number 1, when you're being formally detained, you do have to stop, but you don't have to give them any personal information. When you are detained, you have a right to silence. Number 2, when you are formally under arrest, you must provide your name and address, but otherwise, you have the right to remain completely silent. Number 3, when you're driving a car and are pulled over by police, you have to provide a name, address, and registration. Passengers in the car don't have to provide any information if they don't want to. Number 4, when you're riding a bike and have broken a law or bylaw, you have to provide the police with your name and address. Now the hard part comes, basically, how do you tell whether you're being arrested, detained, street checked, or just being informally asked questions? It's not unusual for police interactions not to obviously fit neatly into one of the categories that I talked about, and you might be unclear on whether you're legally bound to interact with them or not. There are 3 phrases that should help you determine what situation you're in, and they might help you protect yourself and your rights in a police interaction. The first phrase is, "Am I free to go?" Most of the time, police have no legal grounds to keep you from leaving an interaction, and you can legally walk away from them. When you ask if you're free to go, you force the police to supply you with a reason that they're keeping you, or they're supposed to allow you to go. Now, in some situations, they may just be trying to intimidate you into interacting with them. But if they can't provide you with a reason for keeping you, it is within your legal rights to walk away. It is important to note that police are always investigating, and in reality, they can be subversive in the ways that they try and find that information to help them achieve their goals. Speaking with them beyond asking questions, including trying to defend or explain yourself, might allow them to come up with reasons to detain or arrest you. Because it's likely that you don't always know the finite details of criminal offenses, and because police often use this difference in knowledge to intimidate or pressure people, it can be best not to give them anything without first understanding what the exact nature of your interaction is. Police are also allowed to lie to you in order to get more information from you. Anything that you say to police may be used as evidence if you end up having to go to a court, or they might be used to justify the police infringing on your person or on your belongings. When you ask whether you're free to go, if the police say yes, you may leave the police interaction. If they ignore the question, or they push you to continue talking, you can repeat the question again to them. Am I free to go? If the answer is no, then you are either being detained or arrested. When you are detained or arrested, you have the right to know why. You also have the right to a lawyer and the right to be silent. If the police indicate in any way that you're not allowed to leave, whether it's through their physical gestures or their words, that may be enough to show that you were detained or arrested. When you're told that you're not free to go, there are a few follow-up responses that might help you out. One is, why am I under arrest? Or why am I being detained? Another one is, can I have your name and badge number, please? Another one is, I want to speak with my lawyer. And the last one is, I want to remain silent. Now remember, even though you still have to provide your name and address, you don't have to speak any more after that. The second main phrase that may help protect you and your rights is, I do not consent to a search. The police can only search you if you have either consented to the search, if you have been arrested, or if they have a warrant to search you. If you stay silent while the police search you and you don't say, I do not consent to a search, they may later argue that your silence was the same as consenting. If the search results in them charging you, make sure you tell your lawyer that you clearly said the phrase, I do not consent to a search. That might help your lawyer prevent the evidence from being used against you in court. Now, using this phrase may not actually prevent them from conducting the search, and they may very well search you anyways. But the goal is to try and protect you later on, should that search be found to be unlawful. The third phrase that might help protect you and your rights is, I would like to remain silent. As we've talked about, most of the time, you have no legal obligation to speak with the police, even when being detained. Again, you have to provide your name and your address when you're arrested, pulled over on a bike, driving in a car, or if you've broken any laws, including bylaws. Now, you might decide to speak with police regardless of your right not to. This might be a safety decision for you in order to show the police that you're being cooperative, or to try and show that you have not committed any crime, and in some cases, this may end your police interaction faster. That decision is entirely up to you, but it is best that you are aware that anything that you say to the police can be used against you, not just in the court, but by police to justify their actions. Whether or not you choose to speak with the police, it is always, always, always better to stay silent than to lie. Lying to the police might be grounds for you to be charged with what's called obstruction of a police officer, and it very well could worsen your situation. If you have had an interaction with the police that might be cause for a police complaint, please consider watching our other videos in the series, Police Complaints, what to expect, and how to fill out the police complaint form. Thank you so much for watching and stay safe.
All Lived Law Project content is provided by law students for informational purposes only. It is not and should not be considered legal advice. We're not suggesting that you make legal decisions based on any content included as part of this project without seeking legal or other professional advice. We cannot guarantee the accuracy of our content. The information in this project may not apply to you if you don't live in British Columbia or if the law has changed.